What if you gave everything for God, and it still felt like God had forgotten you? What if you obeyed, you sacrificed, you stood alone in a crowd of thousands, and at the end of it all, you ran into the wilderness and asked to die? This is the story of a man who did exactly that. In the rugged highlands of Tishbe, there lived a prophet named Elvan. He was a man of fire and conviction, fearless before kings, unshaken before armies. God had called him to speak truth in a season of deep darkness, when the nation had turned its back on the Almighty and bowed before foreign gods. Elvan did not flinch. He walked into the royal court of a corrupt king and declared, with nothing but faith as his armor, that no rain would fall upon the land until God commanded it. And the heavens obeyed. Drought gripped the earth, rivers cracked, fields turned to dust, the famine was severe, and the people suffered. But Elvan was not abandoned. God led him to a hidden brook, where ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening. And when that brook dried up, God sent him to a poor widow in the region of Zarephath. She had almost nothing left. Just a handful of flour and a few drops of oil, barely enough for one last meal before she and her son would sit down and wait for death. But Elvan said to her, "Do not be afraid. Make a small loaf for me first, and then prepare something for yourself and your son. For the God of heaven says your flour will not run out and your oil will not fail." She believed him. She obeyed. And the jar of flour was never empty, and the jug of oil never ran dry, all through the long months of famine. Then one day, the widow's son fell gravely ill. He stopped breathing. The mother's grief turned to accusation. She looked at Elvan through tears and cried out, "Did you come here to remind God of my sin and kill my son?" Elvan took the boy in his arms, carried him upstairs, and stretched himself over the child 3 times, crying out to heaven, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." And breath came back. The boy opened his eyes, and a dead child was placed, alive, back into his mother's trembling arms. But the greatest test was still ahead. On the summit of Mount Carmel, Elvan stood alone before 850 false prophets. He challenged them all. They called on their gods from morning until noon. They shouted, they danced. They cut themselves until blood ran, and nothing happened. Silence. Then Elvan stepped forward. He repaired the altar of God with 12 stones. He dug a trench. He drenched the offering with water, not once, not twice, but 3 times, until the water ran down and filled the trench around it. And then he prayed, simply, quietly. Fire fell from heaven. It consumed the offering, the wood, the stones, the soil, and every drop of water in the trench. The people fell on their faces and cried out, "The Lord, He is God!" It was the greatest moment of Elvan's life. And then a single message arrived, a death threat. The queen was furious, and Elvan ran. He fled alone into the wilderness, sat beneath a solitary tree, and prayed not for victory but for death. "It is enough," he whispered. "Lord, take my life. I am no better than those who came before me." He lay down and closed his eyes. And then something gentle touched him. An angel, with warm bread baked over hot coals and a jar of fresh water. No sermon, no rebuke, just food and a quiet voice that said, "Get up and eat. The journey is too long for you." God did not send a lecture. He sent a meal. Elvan ate. He slept again. The angel came a second time. "Get up and eat, for the journey ahead is too great for your strength." And strengthened by that provision, he traveled 40 days to the mountain of God, where he heard the voice of the Lord, not in the wind that tore the mountains apart, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a still, small voice. God had never left him. Not in the drought, not beside the widow's door, not on Carmel's summit, and not beneath that lonely tree. There is something this story whispers directly to your heart today. Your greatest victory does not make you immune to your greatest fear. You can stand before thousands in the power of God and still collapse alone in a field, wondering if it was worth it. That is not weakness. That is being human. And what does God do when you are lying there? He does not remind you of your failures. He does not list your victories and say, try harder. He feeds you. He lets you rest. And then he calls you forward, gently, by name. The same God who answered with fire on Carmel is the same God who baked bread in the wilderness. He is mighty enough to move mountains and tender enough to reach one broken soul beneath a single tree. Whatever wilderness you are in today, he already knows the way out, and he is already there waiting for you.